Doreen's favorite. Doreen's favorite. I took my whole life to make that album. My experiences, trials and tribulations. It's an audio memoir, so of course it's my whole life. I took my whole life to make it. You hear musicians say, "Oh, I took my whole life to make that first album," and it's actually true. You know, I'm an immigrant, and I always like to lead off with that. I'm an immigrant. I wasn't born here. I was born in a small country in South America called Guyana, Georgetown, Guyana. Doreen's favorite. Doreen is my grandmother's name. And of course, I'm her favorite grandchild, but I had to say that. It wasn't to poke fun at my cousins. Yes, it was. Growing up, I was under my grandmother a lot. Always, you know, I followed her. I was always under her. And I really think that, well, I've heard my father was her favorite kid. So of course, he has a kid, and the favorite, of course, is gonna be me. But Doreen's favorite, of course, I said an audio memoir, but it's like a manual. Not giving up, living out your dreams, being who you are, staying true to yourself. I had stints at record labels, I had my own label, I've done movies, I've done bit parts, podcasts, everything. I have stories outside of some of the stories I didn't even tell on the album. The stories y'all heard on the album, man, listen. And the main component of that album, hip hop. I'm a baby of hip hop, I'm a child of hip hop. I think I came to this country at the perfect time. You couldn't write this story. God knew what he was doing. He dropped me off in the crack era and like the golden age of hip hop.
Production is done by Ryan Smith.
Yes.
Ryan Smith and you guys, tell us about the creation of it with Ryan.
Well, Ryan Smith, I've known him my whole life. Lived upstairs in my building. Ryan, he's a older cat. He's been in the music game way before I was even a thought. Just to give you a little brief about him, coming up, whatever. He was the guy. I think at one time he was at Busta Rhymes' video shoot for the Woo-Ha single. I think his '95 album, The Comin'. He told me, yo, I seen Q-Tip, I seen Onyx, I seen all these people, and he's from that era. You know what I mean? Tribe Called Quest era, guys like that. And I could tell by his beats and the things that he does. So when I hear RZA's production, I hear Kanye's production, I'm hearing my guy right there because he comes from that class. So we've always talked about doing something, and I was like, damn, I want to do a rap record. And he's like, yo, I'm gonna write that. I said, no, you ain't writing that for me. I'm gonna do it myself. But besides that, I was always told that I told great stories, especially like on my podcast. And I thought about it. I was like, and at that particular time, I was going through like a real deep depression. So it was kind of playing with my creativity a lot. I would have spurts where I would create, then spurts where I won't create. But I still needed to create, but I was still down. And I started the New Hype Shows, this podcast, and I was telling some great stories. People just like, yo, I want to hear more stories from you. And I thought about it. I was like, damn, you know what? So I came out with this, it was basically like I called it a story cast. It was called the CBiz Project. Basically Doreen's favorite, The Blueprint. I told some similar stories on the actual album that I told on that podcast. And I sat with it one day and I'm listening to these stories. I said, this needs some music. So of course I called up Ryan, say, yo, Ryan, what you think about, he was like, he said, yo, let's do it. Let's do it. I sent him over, I said, listen, this is the breakdown of how I'm gonna do my story cast, my album. This is it, this is how I'm gonna do it, set it up. He said, done, send it over. I sent it over. He sent back some music. I said, yo, bro, this is it. I think I probably changed one beat, and that was the Fam Records beat. And that was it. Everything else was to perfection. And it was kind of worked backwards, because in rap, you hear the music and then you spit. I told the stories, then he put the music to it. So the production y'all hear it's A1, man.